Tell me, Dr. Freeman, if you can. You have destroyed so much. What is it exactly that you have created? Can you name even one thing? I thought not.
You have been studying theoretical physics for 9 years. You have landed your dream job at governmental-funded research facility thanks to Dr. Isaac Kleiner, who plucked you from Innsbruck, Austria, where you devoted to teleportation studies. Then, one morning you're running late to the most important experiment in the history of Black Mesa Research Facility. On your way you can observe some unsettling events. Seems like everything has it in for you today. The whole anomalous materials department is on its toes and has redirected resources from other departments just to make this experiment happen. Your good friend who does security work around your sector can be seen stuck outside of the door, trying to make it on time for his shift. But he's not the only man in blue you saw today. When you rushed to get your HEV suit, you saw the administrator passionately arguing with someone in a blue suit, someone you haven't seen here before, and you have worked in this department for quite some time now. You take a step into the test chamber, you can hear your colleague's voice through the speakers asking you to turn on the rotors for anti-mass spectrometer. Then, the last stretch. The car with the crystal arrives. All you have to do is give it a gentle push. Pull the trigger. After all, you were paid to do it. It's your job. So you do. And what you just did has pushed things far beyond your understanding into the motion. Unforeseen consequences. What you just did sent the world into the downward spiral. It wasn't your decision, but it was your hands. After you regain your consciousness, you see the aftermath of the fire you have just started. Tens, if not hundreds of your colleagues now lie deceased on the ground, scattered throughout the whole facility. Those who survived the initial explosion are now fighting for their survival, and the odds are stacked against them. The facility itself crumbling down. Xenian forces, HECU and Black Ops. Those are only few obstacles they have to overcome to get out of there alive. Do you feel guilt? Fear? Or does the survival instinct kicks in? You're only 27 years old, you still have your whole life ahead of you. And what about your close ones? Your ability to think logically as a scientist tells you that it is not your fault, but this idea clashes with an overwhelming feeling of guilt. After all, you're the one who pushed the button that set off an apocalypse. You could have objected to conducting the test in the first place. You saw hints that it is going to lead to something horrible, but then again, you're a scientist. Superstitions are not something you hold on to dearly. The constant struggle, both mental and physical, is draining you to your exhaustion. Most likely the only thing that holds you in one piece up to this point is your HEV suit, which regulates your hormones and minerals. But you have to press forward. Against all odds you travel to Zen and put an end to a tyrannical overlord, Nylanth. But luck is not on your side, as you are stripped of your free will by G-Man, who puts you in an interdimensional stasis for God knows how long. For you, it might have lasted a couple of seconds, hours, or months. But in fact, it was 20 years when you were placed in a train heading to City 17. In a blink of an eye, you just traveled not only almost a quarter of a century, but changed the hemisphere too. As you, now an agent of G-Man, have been placed in Eastern Europe. Confused, no doubt, you are taken into an interrogation room where you see a first friendly face in a long time. It's Barney Calhoun from Black Mesa. Being a double agent of Dr. Kleiner and the Civil Protection Force who are there to harass what is left of humans. You're not yet aware that your victory over Nylanth was more or less meaningless at the end of the day. During your absence, different entity took interest in Earth, and the reality you see after disembarking the train is Combine's reality. Your arrival marks the beginning of something big for remnants of humanity. Because you're a scientist from a very precise field, you're most likely an introvert, but somehow people see you as a symbol of hope, a symbol of resistance against Combine's oppression. If your mental problems weren't enough, Dr. Kleiner has modified your HEV suit while you were away, and it administers morphine automatically when it detects trauma. You can only imagine the addiction creeping in slowly, step by step. You thought that you would never meet zombies again in your life, but you were oh so badly wrong. After meeting your old friend from Black Mesa, Eli Vance, you are forced to run from Combine assault through Ravenholm. Once a lively village, now a shadow of itself, after oppressors bombarded it with headcrabs. Couple of zombified scientists in Black Mesa in comparison to Ravenholm were just your Sunday afternoon picnic. You basically have to swim through intestines and blood. The stench in the air makes you wish you had your HEV helmet on. When you finally arrive back in City 17, the uprising has already started, and from every corner of the city you can hear "Follow Freeman," as if you were some kind of their leader. You never wanted that, god damn it, you're a scientist. But you have to finish what you have started back in the States. you have to face the treacherous administrator, Dr. Breen, who is a Combine puppet ruler of Earth. So you and Alex travel through multiple floors of the Combine's monolith citadel to get to Dr. Breen, who sits atop like it's his throne from which he can oversee his servants. In the process, you end up captured and transported right to the administrator himself. Although all hope seems lost, as you are sitting in a metal cocoon, encased and unable to move, the hope is still there, and as a proverbial larva you are one step from becoming a free butterfly as Judith Mossman, who betrayed you previously, makes up her mind and frees you, letting you finish what you came for. You destroy, or at least you think, the symbol of oppression, the gigantic metal monolith of a structure, in process probably killing Dr. Breen as he falls to his death. But celebration is short, as you are immediately held in time by the puppeteer himself, G-Man. 3 days is all he gave you on this mortal plane, as you're once again put back into an astral prison, unable to influence your life anymore. But on your way to free the remnants of civilization, you made a couple of powerful yet unlikely friends. The Vortigans that you have slain endlessly during your escape from Black Mesa are now free from the enslavement of Nylanth, and are part of Earth's community. And they remember the past. More importantly, they remember you. Not as someone who decimated their brethren, but someone who freed them from the tyranny they had to endure. You don't know much about those fascinating creatures, but you don't need to. They bring you hope just as you brought it to the rebels in City-17. The Vards intervene, teleporting Alex somewhere safe and stopping G-Man from putting you back in the stasis. You wake up at the foot of what remained after the explosion in the Citadel. After the dog comes to the rescue, you look up to the sky and see a gargantuan portal forming. It is then when, despite being held together by HEV suit, you feel something that makes you crumble into a million pieces. It is Alex, hugging you after realizing you survived the explosion. Despite it not being even a week for you, you can feel the 20-some years passed. And the hug? It's something you haven't felt for a long time. But the bliss is not gonna last forever. You have to evacuate civilians, rebels and yourself as City-17 is about to cease its existence. After regrouping with Barney, you and Alex escape the city and board the train filled with civilians as Barney manages to organize a last-moment evacuation. But just as you think you can breathe a sigh of relief, you are reminded that rest is a scarce resource. The citadel that you can still see on the horizon explodes, and as the shockwaves reaches you, your train derails. You can survive something that no one ever should. Thankfully Alex is in one piece too. Interesting, considering she's not wearing a suit like you do. Even more luckily, Alex has copied a transmission while being in a citadel, and it can be used to close the portal which is brewing overhead. Two of you make your way to an abandoned mine, which by sheer luck happens to be a link to a rocket facility. You meet heavy resistance from Combine forces stationed here, but you make sure that those abominations draw their last breath. After an intense firefight, you turn around to check if Alex is alright, but you can't hear her. You feel the warmth of fear creeping through your body. Your ears are ringing to the point of being deafening, and your heart races when you spot her, laying down on the ground, without signs of life. Your world falls apart. Then you hear a voice behind your back. It's Vortigand, telling you that they can heal her if you bring larvae from a nearby antlion colony. You might have developed some emotions for Alex, but you can't be bothered right now with such thoughts, as you bolt to the caves to gather what you've been asked for. During the process of healing, both you and Alex are contacted by G-Man. You are told that it is him who rescued Alex from Black Mesa, despite objections from an unspecified third party. Alex, on the other hand, is told to pass a message to her father. Prepare for the unforeseen consequences. A huge relief comes to you as Alex is actually saved by Vards, but your final goal is still far from achieving. You have to stop another Combine attack on the facility as the other scientists are preparing the rocket to be launched. Thankfully, you have been given experimental explosive weaponry by Dr. Magnuson and you succeed in stopping the attack. The rocket is launched. The portal is closed, leaving remnants of the Combine stranded on Earth, which should be easy enough to clean up. Finally, you are able to rest for a bit. You haven't slept for, what is it, almost a week now? You are contacted by Ally, and it is revealed to you that it is him, your oppressor, G-Man himself, that provided the crystal minutes before the resonance cascade. You were just a small cog in his grand plan all along. The feeling of not having control over your life and fate is quadrupled. You arrive at the hangar from which you are ought to travel to Aurora Borealis by helicopter, and finally you meet up with Ally Vance. But just as you are about to embark on the chopper, two Combine advisors appear and restrain you. Either by the act of desperation or pure spite, they kill your longtime friend Eli. You are once again unable to do anything and you watch your friend die right before your own eyes. Your name is Dr. Freeman. You are 27 years old, even though you have traveled in time 20 years forward. You have nothing to your name. You are stripped of your free will, your close ones. You surely have flashbacks of what happened in Black Mesa, which can be attributed to not sleeping for a week straight. That is only a tip of an iceberg, as this week has been filled to the brim with fighting and exhaustion. You are most likely addicted to morphine. You saw your friend die in front of you, and despite all of that, you are considered a hero, a liberator, a beacon of hope. You're not either of those. You just want to turn back the time and go home.